Okay, so the Anavex Alzheimer's drug is on the ropes. It's called Blarcamesine. The EMA is um, going to vote no on this first round on Anavex. Anavex has another chance to have the drug evaluated by another set of EMA investigators or you know members of its of its team there. Uh, Now, apparently, there is some data that has not really been examined much by the public, um, and this involves biomarker data, and it looks like Anavex is trying to shift the focus a little bit more on the biomarker data. Basically, its argument is um, cancer drugs are often approved because they change the biomarkers in the biology of the human. Um, they change the level of certain chemicals or certain types of cells in the human body. Um, that indicates that it will destroy cancer cells or improve the immune system. Now, the Anavex drug called Blarcamesine prevents brain brain rot. I mean, basically that's literally what it is. In the Alzheimer's disease, your brain cells die very quickly, and by the time you're dead, your brain looks very, very different than the brain of another person of the same age because there's a bunch of holes in it. There's lot more spaces between the wrinkles of the brain. And yeah, this is very evident if you look at photographs of any brains of Alzheimer's patients. And you can also tell that the brain is rotting by taking MRI images or other types of scans of the brain while the person is still alive. And this is apparently what they did with blarcamesine. They gave one group, in the drug trial, they gave one group blarcamesine, two groups blarcamesine actually, and one group was a placebo. The placebo group's brains rotted much faster than the people who took blarcamesine. And they saw this by scanning the brains at 48 weeks, and I think they also did it at 96 weeks for those people who opted to continue on with the trial with an ongoing open label trial. And what was so well, I buried the lead here. So the big thing that Dr. Christopher Missling told us today in the earnings call for the third quarter of 2025 for Anavex was uh, that they could see that certain parts of the brain were rotting away faster on the people who took the placebo, and that certain parts of the brain on individuals were rotting slower for the people who took the blarcamesine. Well, what was really fascinating was that they they matched the parts of the brains that were rotting faster or slower with the parts of the ADAS COG13 test that tests people on their level of dementia, and it tests them on like reading and memory and sorting and logic and things like this, every aspect of cognition. And they found that the places where the patient's brains were rotting less in each individual corresponded with the places um, that they slowed their decline in. So if the part of the brain that was rotting slower was the sort of math and reasoning part of the brain, then on the ADA's COG 13 test, that person tended to score better on the math and reasoning part of the test. Um, so the good news is that it looks like the drug slows down the rotting of the brain. And further proof that it does what is that is is these scans of the whole brain, but also the scans of the parts of the brain. And both of those seem to indicate that um, that there is a matching aspect of it. That the less your brain rots, the better you do on your cognition test. The less your brain rots on the math part or the reasoning part, the better you do on the math and reasoning part. The less your brain rots in the spelling part, the better you do on the spelling part. The less your brain rots in the memory part, the hippocampus and all that, the better you do in your memory part of your test um, when you take Blarcamesine. Um, There are just so many factors now that demonstrate that Blarcamesine works, so much data, um, that I'm certain that if Anavex is forced to do another trial study, that it will pass with flying colors, especially if they are able or if they're allowed to choose their co choose their co-primary endpoints or choose their primary endpoints, and if they choose the ADAS COG 13 and brain preservation as a biomarker, if those are the two aspects that they decide to do a trial study on, then they will pass with flying colors because the data, the slowing of decline in the cognition as measured by the ADAS COG 13 was incredible in their trial study, and if they used the pre-specified subgroup of the AB Clear 1 group, which represented the group of people who had the Sigmar 1 wild type genotype. Okay, so they compared the people who had the Sigmar 1 wild type who took the drug and those who had the Sigmar 1 wild type who did not take the drug in the drug trial, and those who took the drug slowed their cognitive decline by 50%. That's crazy. That is absolutely astounding, and it matches the slowing of the brain rot that they are giving us a little bit more information about today. Okay, thank you and good luck.